so much for joining us.
Okay. You ready for me to go, Diana?
Yes, sir.
All right, okay. So good evening, everybody. Sorry, I was about to say good afternoon. I was going to say 2020, but we're in 2021, but everything kind of runs together during the days right now. But thank you all for giving me the opportunity to be here before you. Look forward to having a frank and honest conversation about who I am, and obviously probably some questions you have about my management style and how I'm going to lead the employee workforce of Virginia Beach. Definitely, it's been an interesting ride. Definitely I came here, in July 2020, and we were right in the middle of the pandemic and all things associated with that. And from what I've observed right now, Virginia Beach is traversing the pandemic better than most places, and definitely a lot better than many other cities in the country. I think that a lot of that is for the hard work of the city of the Virginia Beach staff, and definitely from the fortitude and the courage of the residents of Virginia Beach. One of the things that really brought me to this organization, just thinking about is the resiliency. The resiliency of how the staff has been able to traverse not just 2020 and the pandemic, but thinking about what this workforce has been through is more than what a lot of workforces have been through in 2020. They're also coming off of the 5/31/2019 shooting event as well, and just seeing how this workforce really just navigated all of that really was something that spoke to me to say, hey, this is a place where I love to kind of join this team and help make a mark to help Virginia Beach become the best place to live, work, and play and raise a family. Learning a lot so far about Virginia Beach and what some of the key priorities are. I think I've become a borderline expert in my short period of time in sea level rise and Back Bay flooding and things like that as well. So really trying to immerse myself on all the different priorities that's going on in the community to help work with council to figure out a plan to help make Virginia Beach a better place, and also continue to build on the great legacy of service that our workforce has left for our citizens. And Diana, I think, and Robert, I think this is best served on my part if we have some kind of moderated discussion where somebody's asking me questions so I can respond, because that's how I operate best. Robert, Diana? Yeah, y'all still here?
Unmuted.
I am.
Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah. Robert kicked me off. That's why you couldn't hear me, and he was on mute.
Oh, okay.
We're trying to figure out how to get me back on.
Just go back into it again.
So Ron's doing that now. But while he's doing that, the first question is exactly what is your job? Somebody wants to know.
Oh, I'm Fat Man. So no, I think I serve at the pleasure of the council. So I think there's several positions at the city of Virginia Beach that's appointed by council. One is the real estate assessor. One is the city attorney, Mark Stiles. Amanda Barnes is the city clerk, and the city manager is responsible for executing the policy will of council and ensuring that the workforce carries out on council's vision and execute council's plan. So basically my job is to help ensure that the will and the pleasure of council gets executed by the city workforce, and lead the city workforce in providing basic services for the city, and also taking care of any kind of strategic needs that council wants.
Okay, we've lost a lot of senior people in city government. what are you doing about replacing them? Are we going to like maybe not replace some of those positions?
So I think Virginia Beach is one of those places that's a unicorn. I haven't really ever been to a city where we have employees that stay 40, 45 years, and a lot of the staff that is left, they've been here for over 35 and over 40 years as well. I think with 2020 and plus a lot of other things, a lot of them decided, hey, it was a good opportunity to kind of move on to the next chapter of their lives. The one thing I found out about Virginia Beach employees is that they never truly go away. They're always willing to volunteer and step up and lend their skills and knowledge and talent to help us traverse any kind of problem that we have. But we're assessing all the positions right now to make a decision on where to go forward. Some of them we may reconstitute to look for other opportunities in the workforce to go in a different direction, and some of them we will definitely fill. Also, we're also traversing a pandemic as well, so recruitment is a lot more interesting, a little bit more difficult than how things were before the pandemic as well. So every position we're really evaluating to figure out where we want to go next.
Okay, it says you talked about measurable metrics to improve city services. Can you give examples?
That's one of the big things that I think is one of my key priorities here in Virginia Beach is kind of developing a performance management system that kind of uses data to help influence where we want to go. One of the things that we're focusing on right now is looking at our permitting process. We've been getting some complaints from our permit applicants and developers and other users of our permit system that we're not providing clear, consistent, and timely information. So we've engaged in a permit stakeholder focus group where we've brought some of our customers in to kind of explain to us where our shortcomings are, what we can do better, and what's working well. And we're going to use that information in combination with a survey to kind of lay out some recommendations for how we can best improve this process to obviously keep compliance to all the rules and regulations that we have to abide by, but do so in a way that balances the need to be quick with our response and creative in how we help people navigate getting their projects through in a way that keeps compliance. What we use is that we use that information, we use that data to help drive our goals in terms of what we need to work on and what we need to drive and what we need to do to put in new measures that we come by. So right now what we're going through is that we're in a process now of trying to set up our departments to kind of build up their data diet. So our departments are going now to look over what kind of data they have to identify what's the best kind of measures that we can use to help keep us accountable and to set up a system of overseeing that data to make sure that we're hitting our right measures and metrics.
Oh, okay. What are you doing to motivate staff in Virginia Beach?
What am I doing to motivate staff in Virginia Beach?
Well, I don't know. It could be because you're new and stuff like that. So they might be used to the old system. You may be doing the new system. So how are you motivating them to go?
Well, I think probably the best way I'm doing that is making everybody watch Browns games. So that's probably the way. No, but I mean, definitely, it's interesting. And the reason why I'm pausing with this is that with COVID-19, it's different, because a lot of times, similar like this meeting, I'm not given the opportunity to kind of get around the workforce because everybody's in a pseudo hybrid kind of work mode. A lot of our staff is working remotely, alternating when they're coming into office so we can minimize the spread of COVID-19. And a lot of our workers in the field, like public utilities and public works, they're dispersed in particular alignments that make it difficult to come out. So really what I've been doing a lot of time with is really doing virtual meetings with staff, sending emails, sending video messages, and every once in a while being able to get out in the field, but with everybody have to space out 6 feet apart, and also with the governor's restricted orders, we're trying our best not to have our staff congregate to the maximum extent possible, but trying our best to use the new tools and the new technology to kind of get in front of the workforce and let them know a little bit about me, and then also help them, encourage them to get through the pandemic and all things associated with 2020. I think one of the things that we found out is that our workforce, like everybody, is really had to step it up a notch. Our waste management folks, they've been seeing their workloads increase 50 to 60% because everybody's staying home and everybody's getting takeout and curbside delivery at home as well. So really encouraging our team to continue their efforts and keep putting one foot in front of the next while we traverse this situation.
I'm sure this has to do with football. It says who wins Saturday.
Honestly, I mean, I think the Steelers win. We barely beat them with their JV team, so I don't think we're gonna get a good shot with beating them on Saturday. But hey, I'm hopeful. You never know.
Okay, this one's on evictions. There's several questions here. It's like, do we currently have a plan in place to assist both homeowners and realtors, renters, sorry, that will be effective by the lift of evictions January 31st? I guess that whatever program it is, it's going to expire January 31st. Do we have a plan?
So the city has, and I think a lot of that is really based on how well Virginia Beach has been able to traverse the pandemic so far financially. The city has dedicated significant dollars to creating financial assistance pools for helping folks meet their bills and also their rent, and are also using our additional monies from the CARES Act on the HUD side, like some of our CDBG money and some of our ESG money, to help create a pool of funds that people who are having a difficult time making their rent can apply for, and it's a grant that they don't have to pay back to pay some of their rent as well. But we're actively working with our lobbyists to help encourage our federal and our state legislator to consider extending that as well.
Okay, so where do these people go? I mean, I'm sure it's someplace on the website or a phone number or something.
Yeah, it's
responsible for rolling.
Yeah, it's on. I think it's vbrelief.org. It's a partnership that the council authorized back in November, where we partnered with the United Way and several other community partners, nonprofits, to kind of get the money out as well. Council also did an initial round where we used our human services group and also our human services department to get some funds out as well for our people who need rental assistance. But if you go to the city's website, but if you follow up with me after this, I could probably get you the information, Diana.
Oh, good. I know I get emails from several of our elected officials, like Congresswoman Aloria and some of the delegates, and a lot of times they'll put kind of like that information in there for where people go. So, I mean, if you provide it to them, people can contact them, their congressperson or their delegate, so that, when they send out their emails, they'll get that information as well. It's just an idea. Okay, you still hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, what are your priorities for the city?
What are my priorities are council's priorities. So again, you remember how the world works is that they have the vision, they tell me what the vision is, and I execute the vision. But really, my key priority right now is preparing the workforce. One of the things I mentioned before is developing a performance management system to really kind of help us become a high-performing organization, and help us to be lined up and ready to roll with whatever comes our way and being able to deliver it. Another key priority definitely right now is trying to figure out our role with the state and the federal government, and helping to ensure that we get everybody vaccinated with everybody that wants to get vaccinated with the COVID-19 vaccine, so we can get back to some sense of normal and get people back to work and get the economy kicking back into high gear and getting everybody back to more or less some sense of normalcy.
I'm sure we have a priority for that, first responders, then on to like the elderly or the people that maybe die.
Yeah, so I think the governor rolled out. Yeah, Diana, so I think the governor rolled out a little bit more clarity yesterday on what that looks like. I know right now they were working on the group 1A, and 1A I think was healthcare workers and also healthcare first responders, like our certified EMTs in the fire department, our EMS workers, and other medical work staff as well. And I think 1B is when we start to look at essential workers and also other residents that have morbidity or in a certain age bracket that make the risk of COVID-19 more dangerous for them as well. But a lot of that stuff right now is still being cemented, and I just got off a phone call right before I got on this call right here to get a better sense of where things are going and what questions we need to ask so we can help put a lot of the meat on the bones so we can start to deploy out and get as many opportunities for folks to get vaccinated as possible.
Okay, can you please explain your experience with generating a revenue neutral budget for city council?
Well, to me, what's unique about Virginia Beach is something that I have never really generated before. I'm not used to being in a place where there isn't a significant deficit every year. Virginia Beach always operates in a deficit, but it's usually an easy deficit. I think the place I came from before in Cincinnati, every year we atrophied off programs and we atrophied off employees. When COVID-19 hit Cincinnati was one of those places that funding sources tied solely to the income tax. So when COVID-19 hit us, we lost about 30 million, probably about $50 million out of our general fund immediately, and that led us to have to furlough around 1,200 employees as well. So I definitely am used to figuring out different ways of delivering city services and budgets in a way without increasing taxes or increasing fees. I think one of the things when we had our budget guidance meeting on December 15th with council that they've made pretty clear is that there isn't an appetite, nor there's an appetite, I think, administratively as well, to bring forth a budget this year with significant fee increases or definitely not an increase in our real estate tax.
Well, that's music to our ears because we are taxed enough already. And also because we've had such an economic impact, not only with, tourism, but also with small businesses closing or not being able to operate, people losing their jobs, a lot of people out of work, so it's significant. And we haven't furloughed anybody, as far as I know, in city government, which we've been able to keep our employees here. So we were wondering how you were going to bring forth a budget without raising taxes or fees. But, all of us don't have that extra money to do that. So.
Yeah, I think it's something that we proposed that we're working towards as an administration, and we presented at the council on December 15th. And I think all of them have mentioned that as well. They even asked us to consider looking at other ways of holding fees steady as well. So we're right in the process of investigating that, and doing our research so we can kind of line up with that vision and that intent that council expressed on December 15th. But, definitely I feel like everybody from the city staff to council feels like now is not the time for, significant fee increases on certain programs and also for our property tax.
Well, we would agree that there's never a time for raising taxes because we think the city wastes a lot of money. And so is anybody looking towards any wasteful spending or things that aren't necessarily something that city council should be funding with our taxes? Anybody look at any of those kind of programs?
Are you talking about like reducing programs or getting rid of programs?
Yes.
We're looking at that right now. Definitely, it's where, like we said, we're not trying to increase any fees right now. So I think the city departments are going through a 5% reduction exercise, and obviously some city departments won't be able to cut 5%. Some city departments may be able to cut around that or less than that, but what we're trying to do now is we're trying to really tighten up our belts and see what we can do without, so we can, pass a budget within what we're currently allocated.
Gotcha. Okay, is there a place where we can get a free COVID test? Is there a big difference in the city government and the Virginia Beach schools? There seems to be different rules for the schools. I don't know if there is, but I don't know if I understand that question.
So that's one of the things that I think is being worked out right now. We're still currently in phase 1A in terms of what's happening with the COVID-19, from the Virginia Department of Health. And right now they're focusing on vaccinating all the healthcare workers, and all the healthcare first responders. And then pretty soon, haven't gotten the details yet. I asked this question diligently. When will we get the rest of the details? But they say it's fairly soon, and then they're working all these details out now. There's going to be a move to pivot towards inoculating other essential workers, and then also other residents that have comorbidities or are about 75 and above. So I think they're working diligently to kind of lay out that framework so that we can start to move in that direction of getting the vaccine out far and wide in the community.
Well, I know with the schools, I think they have a vote on Tuesday about bringing the kids back in a sort of tiered program. And one of the things the VBEA wants is all teachers who want to get the vaccine to be able to get it before they go back to in-person teaching.
Mm-hmm.
So
I know the schools similar to us, they're working with the Virginia Beach Health Department to identify what that looks like for them as well. But definitely I think the governor did announce that the teachers are one of the first ones in the next round as well.
What is the city's position regarding residents in dense population areas being able to offer parking with pay apps or Airbus? Airbnb?
Yeah.
I don't know about
What's that question?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. What is the city's position regarding residents in dense populated areas being able to offer parking for pay with apps that are like Airbnb? So I guess they'd be able to pay on an app for parking. So if you're in a dense populated area and they don't have enough parking there and you have to like pay to park, I mean,
on their own private property, or are they trying to make money off of our property?
I would think it'll be in those like those multi-dense buildings where
Private. That's my question. Private property.
it would be private property. There's a lot going around building where people are building like 30-story or whatever, whatever buildings. And they're only they only have to do like maybe one parking space, and most people maybe have 2 parking spaces. And so they're wondering if there's an app like Airbnb. I guess he's relating it to Airbnb, an app that they can go on there and pay for parking that I guess is being used by the public at these places. It would be like town center where we have the parking and everything. Only that parking there is free, but if we had to pay for it, there's a certain amount of parking there that's for the public, and then there's a certain amount of parking that's for the people that actually live at town center. So if they had an extra car and they didn't have a parking there, I guess they want a parking app to be able to pay for additional parking.
Yeah, if it's for private parking, we wouldn't necessarily control what that looks like. So I think as long as it's allowed in zoning, in the zoning code, then if a private party wanted to set up something like that, I think they're free to, as long as it meets all the appropriate zoning regulations.
Okay, this person wants to know about the storm drains. Is it possible for staff, particularly the stormwater department, to be more proactive to notice clogged storage drains while out in the field? And I've brought this up to them before. They can't tell us what drains they've checked and what drains they haven't. And we have that adopt a drain program, and that's fine for if it's in front of your house. I can see in front of my house and make sure nothing gets clogged in my drains. But in other places, people have had flooding problems, and what happened was there was in a public area a drain that was clogged or whatever, and there is no you can put in a work order or whatever, but there was nothing where they can tell you, okay, all these drains have been checked, so we need to maybe check these drains and be proactive before somebody floods.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that we're working towards. I think they can check. I think they can tell when the last time somebody came to service a stormwater drain. But I think the problem that we're faced with right now is just the frequency of when we do that. I think it's one of the things that we're definitely working towards right now. And I think we presented to council before, where we are in terms of when we actually get to maintaining some of these stormwater facilities, drains, and ditches as well, and where we like to get to and what that looks like in terms of cost and things like that as well. So it's definitely something that we're ramping up towards as well. But we should be able to tell you when we got somewhere. But definitely, I know what we all agree, council, staff, and the public, is that we need to increase the frequency of when we actually maintain and clean some of those ditch areas as well.
Okay, so do you have any experience with managing flood-prone areas or stormwater?
Yes, the city I came from was definitely a high flood area as well. We had what you call a barrier dam to keep the Ohio River from flooding our downtown and also our low-lying communities that were closer to the river as well.
Okay, and somebody says that they've been emailing you and they've not gotten any responses, and the email address they have is cmoffice@bbgov.com. Is that not your email address that they should be sending it to?
That's not my email address. What are they emailing me?
I guess questions that she just gave me to ask you, which you just answered, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Normally,
emails.
and you said no one responds to it.
Well, I guess you would have a secretary or something like that, and so she hasn't even gotten a response anywhere from your office. So she's wondering if you have an official email or something that she can email you. The one she has is cmoffice@bbgov.com.
Okay, so you're saying nobody's responding to that email?
That's what she's saying. I'm not saying that.
Oh, okay. Well, you can email me. I mean, my email address is pretty easy to find. It's P Duhaney, DUHANEY @vbgov.com.
Okay, I will email her if she's here and listening. Sandra, oh, you got it? Okay, yeah, she's.
So it's a problem if you're emailing and nobody's responding. That's that's not something I like to hear. So let me know if we're not we should respond. Sometimes it may take us a while to research the answer and get you a response back. So definitely if no one's responding, let me know.
Okay, I got this question again. I don't know if you answered it before. Is there any place to go to get a free COVID test?
A free COVID test?
Yes.
Send me an email. Yeah, I think it's I think right now testing capacity is to a point now where we may be able to kind of assist with things like that as well, but not send me an email. We try to figure that out to see if there's an opportunity for a free COVID test somewhere.
Okay. Please discuss your experience with light rail in Cincinnati and your opinion on light rail as a public transportation option.
It,
Yeah.
somebody was gonna say something?
No, we said no to light rail, but they're asking.
Oh,
You have
okay.
experience
I
with
mean,
light rail. What's your opinion of it as a public transportation option?
yeah, so my experience with light rail is that Cincinnati had a light rail system, and it was built by the time I became city manager. When I was the chief procurement officer, I bought light rail vehicles for the light rail system because it was being built while I was a chief procurement officer. It's a policy decision, if it's something that the community and the council desires, and if they pass that, then I'll execute it on their behalf. But it's not necessarily something that needs to happen if the council doesn't want to do it or the community doesn't want to do it. So really, to me, that's if that's the vision, if that's the strategy that the community wants to move towards, then we can do that. If not, then we won't do that.
Was it successful in Cincinnati?
No.
Okay. I can tell you what, I'm on the community, what it used to be the Citizens Transportation Advisory Committee, and now it's called Community Advisory Committee at the Hampton Roads TPO. And I can tell you, we have that no light rail right away, that Norfolk Southern right away there. I've been offering it up for years for rails to trails. So it is on their long range plan to possibly turn into a bike path. So, just let you know. How familiar are you with the smell from construction dump at Centerville Turnpike, and what action has been taken?
What's that?
I guess there's smell from construction over on the Centerville Turnpike
Not trash more too.
and Mount Trash.
said-
Two. So yeah, but they want to know if you're aware of the smell coming from construction over by the Centerville Turnpike, which is over by the.
Oh, is that private landfill?
Yes.
Oh,
And
the
they
private.
put in the burners and everything, but it's still just smelling up all in everything.
Yeah. Yes. A citizen reached out to our office last week or early this week and made us aware. We've reached out to DEQ and also to the private company that owns it, and we've definitely alerted them to the concerns. And then we went out there as well, and I think we noticed the smell. We asked them what is their plan to remediate it. They've submitted something to us in terms of what they want to do that they say should take care of the issue. They're working with DEQ, and we've also forwarded that up to DEQ as well. So we are aware of the situation. We are monitoring it. It's a private entity, but we are making sure that they are in compliance now, working with DEQ and helping to try to get that resolved so our citizens don't have to be faced with that.
Okay, recently a survey was presented on parking trucks in residential neighborhoods. And so they want to know, was that survey linked to saving city funds?
No, it wasn't. I think it ended up because we got a bunch of citizen complaints from our enforcement of the regulations that are currently in place in terms of commercial vehicles. And folks are buying these new like Dodge Sprinter vans and these new Ford Transit vans, and they meet the definition of commercial in our current regulations. And some of our residents have been saying that they've bought these vehicles because they have larger families, and when they buy them off the lot at Ford or Dodge or other places, that they're not advertised as commercial vehicles. So we're doing a survey right now to get a sense of where the community is. Is this something where there is their interest to amend our code to be more inclusive of these types of vehicles? Because we've been getting a lot of complaints from our citizens, not that they're nuisances, but that we're being overly rigid in enforcement, and that the code may need to be updated. So we're trying to get the public to chime in on that as well.
Okay, do you have any plans of reducing the number of city employees to reduce the cost of providing city services due to loss in tax revenue from the impact of the governor's executive order?
Reducing because of the COVID-19 reductions.
Employees, yeah. Do you have any plans on reducing the number of city employees to reduce the cost of providing city services due to the pandemic and the executive orders?
I think we're definitely evaluating our service delivery, and that's one of the things that we're moving towards as well with our performance management system, is trying to identify ways to different ways to provide our service. There may come opportunities where we evaluate certain programs, and it may make sense over time via attrition, for us to get out of that business and maybe contract some services out or rely on technology as technology innovates as well. So we're actively looking at our service delivery model to look for ways to save money or to efficiently deliver services. And sometimes that may lend itself to, closing down programs and moving staff to other positions within the city, which may have that effect.
Okay, so this person wants to say, would you consider abolishing the STIR office as a luxury item we can no longer afford?
We're currently right now looking to reimagine the STIR office to become the performance management office, to kind of help us become a more high performing organization.
Okay, will you be minimizing new development spending given that so many businesses are in financial stress?
What do you mean by minimizing new development spending?
Well, I guess when we're doing new developments or anything like that, it does cost us money as far as putting in roads for them, drains for them, services or whatever. And so I don't know, will you be minimizing new city development spending given that so many businesses are in financial stress?
I think that's a twofold answer, not necessarily 100% certain on to say that we won't invest in opportunities that bring in jobs and revenue into Virginia Beach, but definitely I know council is focused right now on making sure we provide as much financial assistance to some of our small minority or women-owned business to help keep them open, during the COVID-19 pandemic. I think we are definitely evaluating our dollars to ensure that when we use it, it's strategic and it's for the right opportunities to ensure we're bringing living wage jobs to Virginia Beach. But I can't necessarily say that we won't ever invest in opportunities that could benefit the city in terms of bringing jobs.
Well, I could think of one, the Dome site. Yeah. Right. The city is supposed to be spending money on the amusement, what do you call it, the theater, and a parking garage for them. I think with that, maybe we don't need to be doing all of that, but we just bought land, I guess, and we also paid $30 million to move Dominion, one of their stations or something like that, so we can use the land that it was on there to either put the parking garage or put the entertainment theater thing there. So it seems to us more priority should be on businesses that are not doing well now.
But again, those are policy decisions, and I'm policy agnostic, so basically it's if that's the will of the body, I execute the will.
Right. But since you make the budget, it's like, if I'm spending money here, I can't spend money there. Okay.
But that's probably already allocated in the previous capital budget.
Yeah, it might be, but wouldn't some of the capital budgets have to be looked at as to things that could wait? Aren't people going through the CIP to say, this shouldn't be a priority, this could wait, you know. Is anybody doing that?
Yeah, we did that as part of the COVID-19 budget last year as well, and it's something that we're doing as well.
Okay, great. Will the rec centers be more accessible to the taxpayers that are members? Right now, you have to make appointments with discouraged use and I'm trying to read this and something reduced membership. So I guess rec centers, you know, there's not a lot of use there because there's you have to make an appointment to go and they're discouraging use and they've reduced membership there.
Yeah, and I think that's to stay in compliance with the governor's COVID-19 executive orders. You know, so I think that's one of the reasons why they are currently operating in that mode. You know, and I think as soon as as soon as we have the opportunity to kind of get COVID-19 behind us, we want to return back to normal to the maximum extent possible. But I think all that reduced service delivery or those reduced options and appointments is really to make sure that we stay in compliance with the governor's orders.
Okay. See, what are your views on regional governing by non-elected, all-appointed decision-making bodies? We have several of those. We have the VVDA, we have the Hampton Roads Transportation Planning Organization, Hampton Roads Planning District Commission, HRT, the Transportation District Commission of Hampton Roads, and there's probably like the housing. We have one for housing, the jail,
Oceanfront Authority.
Oceanfront Authority. They're trying to get that Convention Visitors Bureau, Virginia Tourism Authority, Virginia Beach Tourism Authority. What is your opinion on those? Are they effective? Did they work in your city? Do you have any experience with those kind of programs that spend our tax dollars regionally or locally and we have no control over?
Mm-hmm. So the question is, do I think, what's my opinion in terms of if they're effective or should we spend money on them?
It said, what are your views on regional governing by non-elected or appointed decision-making bodies? I was just trying to think of some that you may have been connected to. I know our previous city manager, I used to always see him over at the TPO meetings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I know I participate in them, you know, to identify if there's any opportunities that are appropriate for Virginia Beach, you know, in terms of participating in terms of payment and stuff like that as well. It's, you know, I think it's something that is up to the council. You know, I think it's something that if we pay for, if it's approved, then we participate. If not, we do not.
So you've been to the Hampton Roads Transportation Planning Organization?
Yeah, I think they have virtual meetings.
Yeah, they've been.
You know, and then
yeah, so is the HR tax been having virtual meetings as well. And so is our community advisory committee too. Like I have them coming up, right? But
yeah.
You know, for the transportation planning organization, if you have priorities and stuff like that in transportation, you can get it on the list over there to get state and federal funds, right? And you have to jump through a whole bunch of hoops to try and get on this.
So, and Diana, to your point too as well, and sometimes participating those is the only is a requirement of getting the federal funding for some of our projects as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it has opportunities, you know, sometimes it has its merits as well, you know, but sometimes, you know, the opportunities may not make sense for Virginia Beach, and in those cases we shouldn't take advantage of them.
Right. They just got regional funding for transit. I know they have been over to your office there to give you a presentation on what they want to do with the bus system to make a core bus route and stuff. And I'm wondering if that's going to reduce any of the costs, because HRT was always, we paid for what we wanted, right? And now that they're going to be getting regional funds to do expanding bus and stuff like that, if it's going to reduce any of our costs.
No, I'm not 100% sure on that. I think that one was for them to expand services with those funds and not necessarily take away from what we already pay for. You know, so I don't remember the details specifically as it relates to that. You know, but I'm not even sure if it's we opted into that yet though.
Okay, well, they're going to be doing a core bus system, and one of the core routes is bus 20, which goes down Virginia Beach Boulevard. And the other one, I don't know what the number of the bus is, but it goes down to Chesapeake Square Mall. So we currently pay for those services. So if they're going to provide core services for that, I think they're going to try a trial thing for an app or something where somebody can contact them and they can have them at the nearest bus stop and then take them.
Oh, is that the
there,
mobility?
pick them
Is that
up,
the
and-
is that the mobility? Is that like the last mile thing? Yeah, I think that's the last.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the last mile thing. It's something to kind of fill in the gap between where, yeah, it's something about like it's the last mile thing. It's not necessarily to replace some of the routes, but it's to complement the routes, because I think some folks are saying they're having a hard time getting to the routes. This is at least HRT's data, I think, that
Okay.
this will allow them to kind of, you know, connect people to the last mile or something like that. You know, so
Okay.
they came to council and they presented a couple weeks ago, you know, and I think council sent them back to do some more research and homework and then consider what it would look like to offer that service for free for our citizens rather than charge for it. You know, so it's one of those like pilot mobility projects that may make sense to do, but I don't think the city has opted into it yet, but they did present to us on it.
Okay, so we haven't done that yet. Can you please explain your view on the use of tax funds to subsidize housing? Do we get a grant or
tax
something
funds?
to do that? Yeah. Explain your view on the use of tax funds to subsidize housing. I know we have affordable housing, maybe. I know we've tried making people that build certain complexes and stuff like that provide affordable housing in them, where they don't look like the expensive apartments there from the outside, but they're different. They don't have all the amenities on the inside. I don't know if we subsidize that or not.
Mhm. You're talking about like the use of tax credits or the federal like HUD dollars for that?
Out of the city coffers, not out. I'm sure we have HUD money to do that, but if he's thinking that we're taking that out of, you know, the city general fund that they'll pay into.
Yeah. I haven't seen that yet. I haven't seen that since I've been here in terms of using city funds for like direct general funds for subsidizing like a affordable housing project. You know, normally I'm used to seeing the use of like federal tax credits or new market tax credits or, you know, federal like HUD or CDBG dollars as it relates to subsidizing economic development or real estate development projects for affordability.
Gotcha. What are your views on public-private partnerships and the confusion they create when there is a conflict between what is best of the private corporate members and the residents of our city? And they might be talking about a few of the developments that wanted to go up on Shore Drive or whatever. A lot of the civic leagues were against it, and they still got approved by city council. But I don't think you get to vote on those. So I mean, I don't know why they're asking your views, but you know. Probably.
Yeah, I don't think I
from
get
the
to vote.
civic leagues. Do you get any complaints from the civic leagues? I know they complain to city council and they come before city council. But do they ever come to the
About-
city manager about development going up that's affecting their neighborhoods?
Yeah, we get that a lot. I think whenever we're changing the nature of a community, we always get some opposition, and a lot of times, what we try to do is we try to ensure that the developer who wants to make the change engages the community to the maximum extent possible to have a conversation and figure out a way that they can get that project, get that project more in line with what the community wants, but also in line with what they're trying to do economically as well. So definitely we try to always promote community engagement.
Awesome. So you mediate between the departments in the city and the civic leagues to help get that done.
We encourage it strongly, because a lot of times these aren't they aren't city projects. It's developers trying to get some kind of a change or some kind of approval in the code or in the zoning code from the city as well, and I think council, definitely is one of the things that they really, really advocate and require, because they always want to make sure that the community is being heard and that the developers take into account some of the community concerns in how they develop or try to change a community.
Okay, and the libraries are closed, yet we are still paying employees. When are the libraries going to be open to the public?
I think they're doing remote stuff, right? So they're not necessarily closed, but they're doing remote services, so the employees still come to work as well, but I think it's all that stuff is really related towards making sure we keep in line with the governor's orders for COVID-19. And then as the city moves towards a vaccination effort, and once we figure out what our lane is for those kind of things, it's likely that some city staff may be repurposed to help with the vaccination effort as well.
Well, I know there are some children or even adults that use the library's computers to apply for jobs or do homework or whatever, and they can't get in the library. So, I mean, if you can use 10 people, if you've got appointment to go to the rec center, you get an appointment to use the library for those services.
They're not allowing it.
And then, they're not allowing it, so we're just wondering.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
typically pay staff to tell you that you can't use the library. They sit there and that's their job.
You repeat that, Diana?
Right.
What's that?
He's saying when people call,
No,
there's
the
somebody
only
that's
person-
there to answer the phone and say that they can't use the library. So, I mean, if somebody's there, why can't we make an appointment to go and use it, and still be within the governor's guidelines, like the rec centers are making appointments for.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let me get some more information on that. Let me figure that out, But yeah, I think it's something that I'm not quite sure 100% of what that answer is, but let me follow back up on that one.
Okay, so I have no more questions here. Is there anything you can enlighten us on that maybe we haven't asked that's concerning your job, or any assistance we can give you?
Diana, we
No,
have,
I think
yeah,
You have, oh, wait a minute,
Yeah.
there's questions online. So Robert's gonna ask you
Um,
online. I don't have any given me here, but he's got some online.
yeah, Tony Hedrick wanted to know about the oceanfront agency that they're trying to develop, that they added to the legislative agenda last Tuesday. Yeah, the convention
Yeah,
center.
The city council recently voted to send to the legislature the legislative agenda and added the Virginia Beach Tourism Authority, and one of the people online wanted to know about that.
Mhm. Yeah, I think council last week, or no, actually this Tuesday, passed a resolution asking the General Assembly to consider allowing for a tourism authority, in line similar to I think what the state of Virginia has. for to replace our current CVB, but it's nothing that's finalized yet. It's asking for the authority to do that, and I think it's not necessarily put to vote yet for council to consider making a physical change or a change to actually create to transfer that new authority yet. That's not necessarily what was before the council, but was seeking for the General Assembly to create authorization to allow that to happen if they pass that. Is that
Yeah.
Right. So
is that clear? So it's not necessarily
they're just asking the General Assembly for the authority to do
for
it.
authority. Yep.
Yes, and we
For authority to create the authority.
and we haven't written out the bill. We haven't written out that bill to give them. We just asking them to do it, and they would write that bill.
Yeah, the General Assembly would write that bill.
Okay.
So what happens?
Wait, there's other people
What
online.
happens to
There's
100
other-
the 106 city employees, the 106 currently on the Convention Visitors Bureau? What happens to them if it becomes a private entity?
It hasn't happened yet. and
No,
We
no,
have to
what
think of
happens
it
to
then.
those
They'd
employees?
be absorbed
By what? A
by
private company?
The new
by the
authority.
visitors, Virginia
It's a private
Beach.
entity.
Yes, but they would be given the opportunity, I'm on that task force, they'd be given the opportunity to go to work for the authority or to stay within city council in another position if they are so qualified to do.
So we will pay another 100 people, and then the 100 people don't go away. We just create new jobs for the 100 people.
No, we don't create new jobs, they would fill a job. Okay, what's the question
Okay,
online?
this is not a question, it's from Councilman John Moss, who happened to vote against that proposal, he and Louis Jones and Jessica Abbott. John Moss says Patrick was an outstanding pick. He is doing a super job for Beach residents. And he's talking about his mother and no, about John's mother. John's down in North Carolina taking care of his mother. And Patrick is not going to be able to express an opinion that contradicts a position taken by a council as a body, as his duty is to represent council's formally adopted position.
I
And
don't know
so,
if you heard anything that Robert just said. He was reading a statement from Councilman Moss saying that you could not answer those questions because it's up to city council, and he was singing your praises, saying you were doing a wonderful job. Okay, is there any other questions? No. Okay, with that, we want to thank you so much for being here with us tonight and answering our questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Robert and Diana. I appreciate the opportunity to be part of this forum. And hopefully when we can get a chance to do this in person, because, no matter how much we get used to this, it doesn't feel quite natural. And it's hard to kind of talk to a blank screen because I'm not seeing anybody. So it's very, very difficult. So definitely, I think as soon as we can get a chance to get back to a sense of normalcy, I love to get a chance to do a do-over where we can kind of meet in person and have a more fluid dialogue where we can all read each other's body language and be a little bit more authentic in our communication.
Yes, that would be awesome. Well, if Robert didn't kick me off, I would have been on there with you, but. Back on.
and Diana,
Thank you so much.
please mention that we are following the governor's orders in this room. We do not have over 100 people here, but we do have a lot of cardboard cutouts.
All right. I appreciate it. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Patrick.
Hey, Robert, before
Yes,
I
sir.
go Brown, go Browns.
Lost connection. Sorry, we lost connection.
Okay. Okay.
And take care.
Take care.
Okay, you take care too. Want to know is Tim Anderson here? He wanted to speak. He's running for office, and he wanted to come and speak.